Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. We are back with one of my actually really good friends, somebody that I immensely respect, a top-notch coach that I pick his brain. I've probably taken way more from him than I've given. So I just definitely wanted to have him back on our show here. We're both rocking his shirts here, Gratitude Over Fear, and his new gear that he has out. And it's Joel Evan, and Joel is like, you might have saw him on a little digital billboard in Times Square in New York City with Dave Meltzer. And he's just somebody that he's a little bit younger than me, so I'm super proud of him. But also somebody again that I respect with every inkling of my atoms and being. And I'm just so glad to have him back. He wrote a fantastic book, Ignite, which we're going to dig into, and also he's moving into we're moving into a little bit of his first responders work, because he is a former San Francisco police officer. You might have also seen him on Fox News and other media outlets, really protecting the blue and the red that's out there. When I say that, I mean, I'm talking the cops and firefighters and other first responders, not the political blue and red. But Joel, man, thank you so much for coming on for a 2.0. And let me ask you something. Tell the squad something, that a superpower that you have that no one knows about until right now.
Ooh, that's a good one, man. For really quick, I just want to say thanks for having me back on, because they say your frequency is your neighborhood, and I just feel like this is I'm in your neighborhood, and I'm just excited that I get to vibe on the same plane that you are, and that we get to connect and we get to do this. So I'm just super excited to be back. I would say, superpower that I have, if my wife were to tell me, she would say you're probably stubborn, but maybe that's a good power. Maybe that's a good superpower. I think for me, I'm just reflecting overall. I just turned 41 in April, and I would say always, I keep asking myself questions, and and what I mean by that is, I'll give you an example. Like, just the other day, I was on a camping trip with my son, and he was being disrespectful. He was being ungrateful. And the immediate parent response is, stop being ungrateful. You're being ungrateful. Why are you so ungrateful?
You little shit. Right?
Absolutely.
Especially the way our parents were with us, right?
100%. And I don't want to even say I fall into the trap. It's just a knee-jerk trigger reaction, right? I wasn't raised that way. I have my own story, my own beliefs. And so that's immediate for me. But later, I reflected on that, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing to create this environment that he shows up, the behavior is showing up that he's ungrateful, right? And what I'm saying is I'm not satisfied. I wasn't satisfied with that interaction with him. And I reflected on it. And most people won't do that. Most people will just be like, well, he's the problem. He's a little shit. He's this. He's disrespectful. He's ungrateful. And guess what? Some of those things might be true. But it's my job to show up and lead and build that trust and show him, if I'm serving at the highest and I'm creating that environment of gratitude, maybe I'm not being grateful. And I thought when I was a kid, guess what? I wasn't grateful. I was a snotty nose, only child for 8 years before I had a brother. And so I can actually even think there's probably times my parents were saying that. So my superpower is not being satisfied with mediocrity, and always asking myself questions and wanting to go deeper. And, something we'll probably even touch on is about one of the new things I'm exploring with first responders. But I can think of at least 6 times where my wife has told me, should we get a divorce? That conversation has come up multiple times, not recently, but again, it would have been so easy for me to be like, yeah, let's do it. Or yeah, let's go. But I wasn't satisfied, because I knew there was something more on the other side. If I just kept asking the right questions, and if I was asking the wrong questions, which is, why is she such a B word? Why is she this? Why won't she change? No, I asked myself, what else is there? Because we know over and over, especially in the first responder community, they've got like 3 wives. They're on their 3rd marriage, And so that's the superpower, man, is going deep and not being satisfied and continuing to ask good questions.
I love it, man, because your curiosity is off the charts, and we vibe so well with that, And so with that curiosity, man, like, what kind of question? Because I'm a big high power questions. I have about 40 of them. I ask myself Monday through Thursday. It's kind of like a workout, right? Where I ask myself, because I believe that our brains are wired to be problem solvers, and that a lot of people have affirmation. That's fine, but they can't back the affirmation a lot of times with the energy that's needed, right? But so if you ask yourself questions, you ask yourself questions enough, because everything in this world is a question. I mean, if you're driving down the street and you have to make a left, your brain fires, do I turn on the blinker or not? You know, you're asking yourself questions all the time. Like, what do you think is a high powered, leveled up question that you ask yourself most of the time that has started to really come into reality?
Okay, easy. So you and I love metaphysics, and some of these teachers like Nisargadatta. I think one of our favorite quotes is, "Nothing in my world ever goes wrong." You and I love that.
Right.
So one of the things that Nisargadatta said in his book, "I Am That," is he said, when one of the, if you read the book, it's about somebody's asking him questions. It's like he's being interviewed for multiple chats. It's like a podcast interview for like, I don't know how many years, like a year long, probably. Some guys going around. And so he asked them the question like, well, like, I'm seeking the truth. I'm looking for the truth. Like, how do I find that? And he said, stop asking yourself who you are. Ask what you are not. So that would be what I would tell you. In the last year, I've been asking myself over and over again, what am I not? What is the shadow that shadow figure? There's a lot of people understand the shadow figure. I think Carl Jung made that popular. But what is that? What am I not? Who am I not showing up as? Because I know who I'm showing up as on a regular. And guess what? If you ask Joel Evan, he's going to say that guy's perfect. Right. He's awesome. He does nothing wrong.
Right. No, that's awesome you said that, because like I ask myself questions as if it's already happened. So my brain starts wiring itself like that. I'm going to add that one. How am I the person that I need to be to show up every day for someone? And that's how I would ask that. You know what I'm saying? Because you're constantly leveling up, you're constantly progressing and whatnot, which leads us into this book, man. It was a fun read. At first I was like, okay, it's not a business parable, which I really like to read. Right. But it was more of like a to-do in a sense, but with a lot of entertainment. And I mean, you start the book off super strong with a quote by Bedros Keuilian, you know, with the discipline to stay disciplined is a discipline very few people can master. I mean, you use the word discipline 3 times in that. It's a fantastic way to start off the book, man. But let's retrack a little bit. Like, what was the basis of it? What got in your mind to really get this book out to the masses?
Yeah. So that quote too sticks out. It had such a powerful effect on me. And it was one of those quotes that I read over and over again, because like, I didn't even understand. I was like, wait, what is he saying? And I'm like, oh my God, I get it. Oh, I get that. Yeah. Okay. Wow. Like, that's deep, that little nuance, that little shift. Like, and most people won't get it because they're like, yeah, you have to be disciplined. No, you don't understand. Of course you have to be disciplined, but it's the discipline to stay disciplined that very few can master. And it's true. And those are the only people that are on top of the game that we and I both know. They have been consistent over and over again. We talk about entrepreneurship. It's not easy. It's not linear. The growth is not the simple punch in like a 9-to-5 job. You get your butt kicked a lot. You know, you and I have both experienced major losses of going bankrupt and like losing it all. Yeah. And most people can't stomach that. And so that quote always just resounds in my mind. But the big thing here is, Ferg, is listen, I talk about in the book, right now we are at a crisis, a metabolic crisis. And right now only 6.8% of Americans on the latest study are deemed to be metabolically healthy. And when we're talking about metabolic health, we're thinking about, you know, cholesterol, we're thinking, you know, your triglycerides, your insulin, are you diabetic, right? Cardiovascular issues, the endothelial system. Those are like the big ones that when they're talking about metabolic health, that's where, and then of course, obesity. And again, when we look at the pandemic over the last 2 to 3 years, who was harmed the most by that sneaky virus that was floating around? Who was harmed the most? I think the stats showed 70% of those people that had metabolic problems were in the hospital.
Huge.
So yeah, that is what started this book. And I really just felt like, you know, when I started my coaching business a year and a half ago, I didn't know what I really wanted to do. And so I chose weight loss because I'm like, I've always maintained that. And being a first responder with a 9-year-old for over 9 years, I didn't go to the gym. I didn't go to the gym. I had done small micro workouts for maybe 4 to 5 times a week. I didn't sleep well because I was a first responder. I was averaging 6 hours of sleep. So I was thinking about it, and I was distilling all the information I had learned going through naturopathic health coaching certifications and life coaching certs. And I just kind of distilled all this information. I thought, man, it's really a lot simpler than I think people are, making out to be. I still get questions like, what diet should I be on and all this.
Sure.
A lot of that's just noise. It's like,
You're like, what lifestyle should you be on versus a
yeah,
diet, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. What are you feeding your mind? And so we talk about that. The first 2 chapters, I think, are all about mindset, right?
Huge. Yeah.
And so that was the impetus of this book, is like, hey, there's an easier solution. And I really, truly believe this in my heart, is that this book is not weight loss. I'm not teaching you to lose weight. I'm teaching you to get healthy, and a healthy body can't be overweight. That is the crux of this book. And if you understand that, I talk about emotional detox. I talk about like actual physical detox. How can you support the liver to actually detox? And I'll give you a quick story.
Yeah,
I had a client just recently come through just the other day, and she contacts me. She goes, Joel, I just, had my second kid. Maybe like now he's like 2 or something. So, but it's been like 2 years. I'm starting to work out again. 35 years old. She's young female. And she goes, I've been going to Orange Theory for 3 months now. 3 months. I go 3 to 4 days a week. I haven't lost a single pound.
Right.
Now, all the exercise gurus and everyone's and she's like, I've been watching my diet. I'm not perfect, but I've been watching it. Now, you would say over 3 months, like she should have lost a single pound. Guess
Sure.
what? She didn't. So what do I think? That's like, this is simple. Like
It's the
your
kitchen.
yeah, no, well, not only the kitchen, Ferg, but what people don't understand is the toxins they're putting in their body. And it's the micro cuts that bleed over day in, day out, right?
Sure.
We have an epidemic of men that are in their 30s and they're on TRT and they're like in the sub like 200s and they're like, I feel like crap. That's not normal. We have an infertility problem with women that are using IVF therapy because they can't get pregnant. Why are we experiencing this so early in life? I believe it's a toxicity problem, and the toxins
Huge.
are creating deficiencies in your body and inflammation. That inflammation gets stored in your fat cells, and then things just get sludged. Things get
Right.
clogged up and they don't move. So what I do typically with a lot of clients is I move them through functional medicine detoxes to support the liver. I support the drainage and detox systems of the body. And guess what? When the lymph system, which I know you're a big fan of with all the trampolining and jumping up and down, when that starts to move and clear out, guess what? Now the body just starts letting go of weight.
Yeah.
So guess what? She starts doing this detox. Boom. She texts me, Joel, I'm 4.5 pounds down
Nice.
in the first week.
Yeah.
I'm not even implementing exercise. We're
Right.
just getting the body right. I'm giving the body the right input. When the body has the right input, it knows how to heal.
Addition by subtraction, then addition again, right?
Yep.
That's huge. And like you made a great point with everything's processed. Like, and with my clients, if we start talking nutrition and whatnot, I tell them, you shop the perimeter of a grocery store, you shop the outside, stay out of the aisles where the stuff is processed, to let it stay there. A year from now, a lot of that stuff would still be okay to eat. But like you also see like women or girls that are 15 that have the breasts and the body of a 22-year-old, right? And you start thinking back, and I did a deep dive on that myself and started saying like, all these, like if you look at a chicken breast from now when you buy it at the store versus in 1982 or 83 when I was a kid, the breasts were so much smaller, and it wasn't a smaller cut. It was the same cut, but it wasn't estrogen filled. So you get these girls eating these estrogen filled chicken breasts, which will, age them quicker, and they're feeling good about themselves until later on in life when they can't lose weight, and they have to meet someone like yourself to do that addition by subtraction to get it out and whatnot. And I'm also finding a lot with fasting, which we talked about off the air here and off the mic, and a lot of people that I've taken through my 72-hour fast, the autophagy happens, the stem cells growth starts happening, and they're keeping the weight off afterwards. And that's something that I just implemented, brother, for like 5 months ago, which I talk to you about every day that we talk. And because I always thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my muscle. I'm going to lose all this stuff, brother.
Yeah.
And I love that you're adding things in by subtracting it. And that's, another reason why, you're highly sought after. But with the book, what kind of, because it's been out of since May 15th, I believe, right around in there.
Yep.
How's the response been, or what kind of responses and whatnot? You already know my response, but what kind of response are you getting?
It's been super positive. It went bestseller in 7 categories, and so I couldn't be happier. I mean, it's been really nice. I had a lot of support. And listen, I would say this, I didn't do anything special. I don't have like a huge social media following. I mean, I'm growing it. I mean, it's growing and growing, but it's really just, I will say I had a lot of good friends, and it was organically done. It is grassroots. And I was thinking, man, everything starts at grassroots. It was
Everything.
me texting 200 people and saying, go out and get the book and make sure you get it, leave a
I was
review.
one of them.
You were one of them, right? And you showed up, and man, I appreciate that. And so that really helped it move the numbers. And I'm
I'm just so damn proud of you, man. You have that out, and you're 41, and I'm 51, and my book's not done yet, and it'll be done. It'll get out there. And I'm just letting him do all the work, and then I can pick his brain later how to do it the right way. That's awesome, man. So I know that like you're not a quote unquote weight loss coach. You are an overall really starts with the mindset. And we've talked about, that, but your temple has got to be taken care of, your body, because you're especially if you're out of sorts and those micro cuts are happening to hurt yourself, that like you had said. Where do you really start with your coaching clients when they come to you? Let's just say somebody is overweight. They want to get intimacy back in their marriage. They do that because there's different aspects to that. You're not just a weight loss coach. I know you start with mindset, but let's get into your feeling on mindset and where you take them when you first start coaching them.
Easy. It always starts with values, man. It always starts with your priorities and your values. And so often or not, I will always talk to clients, and I'm always like, hey, so tell me about your values. Like, what do you say is true to you? What do you align with? Because here's my thing. When the processed food, or you go to a party, a kid's party, or you go out with your girls or whatever, guess what? You're going to be tempted to have something bad. You're going to be offered a drink. You're going to be given this. And I can tell you, because I know in my own life, and just from coaching so many people, they are going to fall victim to willpower, because willpower is just not strong enough. You can only fight that urge for so long. But you know what'll keep you in tune and has way greater magnetic pull than anything is your values. Your values is something that you say to be true, who you are. And most people, guess what? They don't know their values. They don't know what they stand for. They don't know what their North Star is. So they have nothing to align with. And it's so funny. I've had so many clients, and they'll tell me, man, well, I never thought about it, but if I had to list my values, it would be things like integrity, generosity, loving, kind. And I'm always like, those are great. I love these values. Tell me, is health one of your values? And they always go, no, but it should be, Joel. I'm like, exactly. And that's
without using why is it not, because you can't use why in coaching too much because it's a judgmental. How do you ask them point blank, but nice enough to get them to give you the answer of why they're not taking care of their body, their temple? How would you ask it? Just curious.
One of the most powerful and insightful questions I get in any consult is, all right, there's obviously, you could come to me, Ferg, and say, oh, I'm overweight, I have gut issues, I don't care. Like, we know you got lots of issues. Where do we start? So I asked them point blank is, what is the biggest challenge or barrier that is holding you back from getting to where you want to be? If you want to be 25 pounds or less overweight, tell me what it is. And you'd be surprised at the answers I get, because most often I don't hear, well, it's because I need to exercise more and eat less, Joel. It's not that. It's right. I'm not consistent, Joel, and I'm not committed. That's a mindset issue.
Yeah. Where do you start them at, man?
Always, I like to start always digging into your beliefs, digging into what because for me, I know how much my limiting beliefs held me back from reaching my higher self. And they always show up. But if I'm not aware of them, if I have no awareness that they exist and they're there, then I'm just going to keep repeating the past. Right. We know there's a lot of good neuroscience suggesting from 0 to 7, like that's kind of where we form our personalities and who we are and who we think and say we are. Right. We're acting out in this theater of like, this is how I believe that I am. And these are my beliefs. And this is who I am. Are they really your beliefs? Do you really believe that to be true? Or did your parents give you that belief? How often do I hear people say, oh, well, it's my genetics? I'm just like, are you kidding me?
Dude, so genetics true.
Yeah. So it always starts there.
It's funny you say that, because Shad Helmstetter, wrote the books, What to Say When You Talk to Yourself, The Power of Positive Self-Talk. And he said that kids are told no, the word no, an average of 135,000 times by the age 12. So when you have that negativity that's put in there, that feeds that as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I have this little mastermind I do pro bono with high school students, and I don't allow no, in anything. and we have to phrase the questions that they ask themselves powerfully daily with that, because again, a lot of their parents, out of protection, a lot of times, Joel, but you're a parent, you'll say no,
Oh, yeah.
instead of saying, like I know how you are with your children. This is why it's not happening, right? You have to say that. So I love that you're getting people to open up to you, especially with that powerful question of what's your challenge, your barrier. That's awesome. So, I know your time's a little crazy today, but like, I really want to dig into this kind of new heroes coaching that you've got going on right now, because people here in South Florida, I'm known as the veterans, first responders, real estate broker. I mean, I have a small team, fortunately, that runs it, but you go to palmbeachheroes.com. That's a little plug, if you're in South Florida. But no, if you're a cop, firefighter, veteran, nurse, doctor, we even throw clergy in there. We don't care what religion, but we do give them a percentage off of their or a rebate back. I actually give them 20% of our commission, right, to help them with closing costs and stuff like that. But talk to me about how this happened for you, really kind of push through with how the infancy of it, and then what do you want to do to help the first responders?
Yeah, brother. So I just launched, like, literally the other day, a first responders fathers group. And the reason has been, I started doing some just deep work. Listen, best-selling author, great podcast, whatever, thousands of Instagram followers. You would think, oh, this guy hasn't made, he understands things. I do all the Tony Robbins seminars. I do all the life coaching certs. I got all that stuff, man. I've gone deep into myself. I've hired other parenting coaches. I've gone to seminars. I've read the books. And my relationship, my marriage, and my family life has always been kind of rocky. And it wasn't really until the last year that I hired a dad coach. And I just thought, up until then, I was like, yeah, well, whatever. It's their fault. I've done everything. I know what I'm doing. And I've had the most transformation just in the last 6 months of my life. And it's just been because I have reprioritized and gone deep into what I was doing wrong. I was showing up incorrectly, and it's no wonder my marriage and my family life suffered. And even looking back at it more, there's this great book by Dr. Gil Martin, and it's called Emotional Survival for Law Enforcement. He's a PhD. He was also a police officer. And he says in the book that, at the end of an officer's career, and by the way, I got to tell you the context of this book. It talks about the hypervigilance roller coaster that first responders and police officers specifically go through. And it really talks about why we are the way we are. Why do we carry this PTSD and this trauma? Why does this occur? And you know what's funny, Ferg? They actually give you this book at the end of the academy, and they say, here, give this to your spouse, have her read it. She's going to know why your life is going to be soon screwed up. Why your marriage. Oh yeah. It's like, here's the blueprint. And the idea is actually so that the wife can empathize and actually understand what you're going through, and then hopefully kind of triage it. But it doesn't really give the solutions. It's just like, here's why your marriage is going to suck and your family life's going to suck. Be prepared. And so I was reading that book again, and it's funny. At the end of a police officer's career, this happens all the time. They will have these illustrious careers, and they've gotten the bad guys and the gangs, and you were an amazing captain, Cap. But guess what? At the end of their career, what do they regret? Man, I wish I'd spent more time with my kids.
Yeah.
And that is so true.
Communicate with your spouse too, right?
Like, first responders are known to be like one of the highest divorce rate, I think, other than lawyers. So it's first responders. And then think about this. Think about the suicide rate. Also, one of the highest in the industry is first responders. Sure. And I can tell you just from my own personal life with first responders who I know that were friends that committed suicide. You know this very well too. You have a foundation with your brother. And man, a lot of times I've seen it because of relationships that went sour. The wife or the girlfriend or something was having an affair, or they had some big bad argument. And it was that moment. I'm not saying that there were other things, addictions. Yeah, I'm sure there were. But it was that moment. It was the relationship that caused that final straw to break. That
rock, that glue.
That caused him to pull the trigger. And first responders, they have access to guns more so than other people. So just easier, et cetera, et cetera. Anyways, long story short, man, I see a huge need for me leveling up my own self and then talking with other men. One of the things I wanted to leave you with also is that men, back in the day, we had a bonfire. Okay. We sat around in the fire in the circle in the village, and we talked about our problems, and we shared ideas, and we actually came up with solutions, right? We don't do that anymore. Men don't talk. Women talk a lot. Men don't talk at all. And I think we need that tribe. We need that community. And we don't realize how powerful it is. In police work, we have something called choir practice, meaning after my
just
shift.
going to ask that.
Yeah. After my shift. Now, we don't do this every night, but hey, it's Friday night. It's our last day of our shift. Hey, you guys want to have some choir practice? That's a sign for, yeah, we're going to grab some beers, go in the back parking lot, drink some beers, tell some war stories, and then probably complain about our significant
and
other
bitch about
and
everything,
all the
right?
things. Yeah. And bitch about what they are not doing and how our kids suck. And it's cathartic in that moment. But guess what? We go back and we leave and we get back into our normal lives, feeling detached, isolated, depressed, not connected. And the reality is we want to be alive, alert, have energy, be humorous. And I'm here to tell you that for the first time, I can really tell you, like, my marriage is fun. My kids are fun and it's possible. And so I want to really bring that into the first responder male community because I think there's a need for it and we can make a lot of change.
So how were you showing up compared to how are you showing up now in your marriage that really you saw the proverbial light bulb go off? Like, how were you showing up to how are you showing up and how did you make that happen?
Presence was a huge one. Now I'm going to tell you why, because again, it was presence and it was priorities. Okay. Because I told you offline, I prioritized my growth, my significance. I get one of my human needs is feeling validated and feeling like I matter. And I think all of us feel that way, but my love and connection, and it was probably because of my own upbringing,
Sure.
I didn't put a lot of emphasis on that. I just thought being a good dad, I'm providing for my family. I show up and I play with them for a little bit on my times off, but I was just checking boxes, man. I wasn't connecting with them. I went on a 5-day camping trip with my son. It was kind of a rites of passage trip. And I had no access to cell phones, nothing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah, you try to get hold of me. Yeah. Hey, so I had the time to actually just see my son. And I'm telling you, there were little glimmers of where he would just shoot me a look and like a smile. And I'm like, oh my God, I never noticed that before because I'm so busy thinking about what I'm going to post the next day or whatever. I have a business like you. And I realized, oh my God, I'm missing that little glimmer, that little shine, that little sunshine smile.
Going up. Yeah.
And so presence has been huge. Me being present also helps me see where and be aware of my own triggers. Because if I'm not present and I'm not living in the now, then I'm already getting ready to react or think about how he screwed me or whatever. My son, he's back talking me. When my son is back talking me or not, doing what I want, there's times where he does need discipline, but there's also times where if I'm just present and I'm calm, then I'm really actually seeing why am I being triggered?
Sure.
And if I know why I'm being triggered, then I can prevent a lot of that and be it basically in a police term, I can de-escalate. De-escalate the conflict. So it's about being present and it's about putting my attention and my love and connection and prioritizing my family first and being intentional about that, man, being super intentional. And I make sure that I spend at least 10 minutes a day individually with each boy and I'm serving my wife. And the more that I've served and continue to serve, guess what? I build a ton of trust. And now they see me. I'm not going to get out of my relationship by just out disciplining my son. You know how I'm going to get him to listen to me? Building trust as a leader again. And when he sees me as the leader, he's just going to naturally listen to me. And there's not going to be a lot of arguments. So I've seen that. How do I know it's working? Because my kids are not fighting me as much. They're my youngest son, who, I mean, for the longest time, it's just the way he is, but he would, like, I'd say goodnight to him. And my other son's very affectionate and loving. And he's like, good night, Dad. Love you. My other son doesn't do that. Last night, he gave me a hug. Like, it's those little things. Like you start showing up. My wife's being more funny and just kind of like humorous around me and stuff. Those are the ways I know that, oh, okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
When I serve, when I show up, they show up.
Right. And then you're getting the people within like these groups that you're going to start setting up for group coaching, and there will be a link, squad, in the show notes as well, how to get a hold of Joel, because I mean, as a first responder, you're generally showing up while you're on the clock on somebody's worst day that they've had. If you're, I mean, and I'm not saying about getting pulled over, I'm talking if you have to call a firefighter or a police officer to your house. That's probably a really, really bad situation for you. And they're there to make sure that your day is as good as it can possibly be. They're not a fix-all, but you have to remember, squad, these people go home to their families and stuff, and they have the trauma. that's in there. And it's people like Joel that I'm so blessed that are out there. They're setting up these programs. So if you have any first responders, if you have anybody, and it can be across the board of first responders, it can be medical, it might even be a teacher, somebody that's really providing to our youth. They're heroes as well. Let me get you in touch with Joel on that, man. And, Joel, so I've always wanted to ask you this on the mic, but tell me about a fail that you've had. Tell me about a fail that you learn the most from in coaching.
Ooh, man, you ask the best questions, man. You always
Thanks,
okay. So,
man.
I would say so. Here's the biggest fail too, for me was, again, I was bred. And I'm saying bred, but it was just the way, I was a first responder for almost 15 years. I was a police officer for almost 15 years, man.
Right.
I punched the clock 9 to 5. I went and got coaching certifications, knowing one day I would launch my business. Didn't know what it was going to look like. When I got fired in 2021 because of the mandates, I was forced to go all in on my business. And so I did. But I will tell you this. My business suffered in the early, my online coaching business suffered in the first year and a half. And I mean, I did okay, but I felt like I was breaking even. I felt like I was just going at it, running. And it was just getting nowhere. I'm spending more on ads than I'm making. I'm breaking even at best.
Sure.
And I'm just like, man, what is going on? And I took a step back. I stopped running ads and I just took like some time to myself to reflect and find out, why am I not successful? And again, the question could have easily been, well, the Facebook algorithm changed. Believe me, I blamed the Facebook algorithm for a little bit. And then I went deeper and deeper and asked myself more why questions. What's really going on here? Why are you not being successful? There's so many other coaches that are not even as good as you, and they're way more successful. What are you doing? And I realized my whole journey has been about lining up and aligning with my truth, and nothing vibrates faster than the truth. And I thought to myself, well, calling yourself a weight loss coach, Joel, you're not really a weight loss coach. I don't think you're really aligned with that truth. You're not being true when you say that. And sure, I can get people results, but that's not what I really say that I am and who I am. And so you and I talked about this a little bit offline in the past. It's just aligning. I realize, how do I really want to impact the world moving forward? My coaching business, is it really weight loss? No, not really. Can I do that? Sure, but right. I want to impact people on even a higher level. And so it was really retuning that and recalibrating after putting so much work, a year and a half of work into weight loss and all this stuff. I've kind of toned back from that and realized most of what I do that's special is the mindset piece. And now even what I'm doing with this first responder group for men was birthed because of this, because of me really seeing what is really important. What do I really value? Sure. And I've lost it all, Ferg. I lost all my money being fired. And you know that I lost it all. Yeah. And I have continued to lose it all, but I don't care, because if I don't have my family or my health, I'm nobody. I can have a Lamborghini right now and none of that will matter. And so again, aligning with your truth. When you align with your truth, that'd be my message for anybody. When you align with your truth, nothing vibrates faster than that. And you are going to, whatever it is you're trying to exceed or excel in, you're going to get there the fastest.
And I love that. And so then, I think I might know the answer to this, but what is your kind of a definition of a life well lived?
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say it's being really what it is. Yeah, it's aligning with your truth, man. It's aligning.
I hope you're going to say that, because it nailed it just right there, bro. Nothing vibrates better or faster.
It's who you say you are, and I want to just echo that, because in the pandemic, and we've seen so much, again, I lost my job because people, they didn't stand up. Right. They didn't do the, and this is what I've been saying a lot on some of these news shows, is it's not, leaders don't do what's easy. They do what's right. And you need to have a conviction stronger than your desire to please. Most people don't have that. They don't have a vocation or something that they stand behind. And I would really advise people, what is that for you? Figure that out. Stand in that. If you stand in that, and when you are true to yourself, man, you think Gavin Newsom is true to himself? I'm just going to use him as an example. You think that guy is being true? No, he's just doing whatever the puppets tell him to do. That's not a guy who's aligned with his truth. And at the end of the day, I don't see, he'll never be remembered as like a great leader. It's the
Right.
people that the greatest leaders, the most successful. You and I both want to die one day on our deathbed and be like, okay, I lived. Like
Yeah.
you just said, I lived a good life. Man, when you align with your truth, then you know there was nothing that was false.
Right. Right. I love that. I love that. So Joel, how can people find you, my friend?
Still at joelevancoaching.com. You can hit me up there. I'm on Instagram, Joel Evan Coaching as well. That's a really good place to just shoot me a DM, find out. And guess what? I have a podcast too. It's called The Joel Evan Show. I know you didn't know that was going to come. Any of those are probably the best ways to connect with me there. And then on Facebook, go check out I just got it up, the First Responder Fathers group. I think it's the only one out there, so it should be easy to find. And if you guys are first responders and want to connect with me and join a tribe and a community that is looking to change and have impact and actually understand that you can have a fun, loving marriage, then jump on in.
Love it. I love it. And squad, I'm going to do a book giveaway. You can buy 3 books from Joel, and he's going to sign them for me and mail them out if he doesn't mind. Take care of that postage for me. Absolutely. But the first 3 people that put in truth vibration. I don't care if it's Pinterest. I don't care if you text it to us at 561-440-3830. Anywhere in social, if you put truth vibration, then I'll get a signed copy out to your snail mail. And Joel, do me a favor. I'll leave us with one last knowledge nugget here we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
I gotta end, man. I gotta end with the Nisargadatta. Nothing in my world ever goes wrong. And remember, this quote came, a woman, like a beggar, I think, was like walking through. She was a sick person. She was walking through the streets, and she's like, hey, she had to talk to him. And she's like, hey, like, can you help me? She's like, I'm suffering and I'm in all this pain. And he's like, he looks at her. He's like, no, you're not. You're not suffering. Your body is suffering. He goes, your body is suffering, but your spirit, that's everlasting. That'll always live. And then he tells her, just so you know, like, nothing in my world ever goes wrong.
Right.
And that's what that means. And I think when we're in our little worlds, we are so focused and myopic, and it feels like everything's going wrong. But when you realize, and you kind of take a step back, you detach and you look out, you're like, oh, that's just my body. Like one day we're all just going to die one day, and that vessel is going to go away, but the spirit lives forever. So my last words to you guys is nothing in my world ever goes wrong.
Yeah. You know, what's funny is I was blessed to see Wayne Dyer live. And that's one thing he said, and I wrote it down. It's on my daily mantras, man. You know what I'm saying? It's not part of my powerful questions. Just like in my world, nothing ever goes wrong. I love that. And squad, we just had a 2.0 kick-ass interview with my good friend, Joel Evan, really good friend, Joel Evan, a good dude. And, he told us about his frequency neighborhood. And I'm a big believer in our frequency is what we frequently see. And with that being said, it's like I get to frequently talk to Joel, like we text or call each other at least once a week just to check in on each other. He's been there for me, and that just align with that frequency. We wants to know you to ask yourself, what are you doing to create your environment? Because we all know that mental is huge, but environmental is just as big. With the people that you're vibing with, your truth will come from your environmental. So mental is not just in your mind, it's the people environmental that you surround yourself with. Joel is somebody that does not accept with mediocrity. He wants you to do the same, to always find that way, do a little bit 1% better, and to really level up. And stop asking yourself who you are not. Ask yourself who you are. Or I got that backwards. Ask yourself what you're not coming as the person that you need to come to be that best person. Because he reminded us that, we have a huge metabolic crisis. As 7% of the people that are breathing air in this country, or maybe even on this earth, are metabolically healthy. And there's so many aspects that go into that. And if you want to know more, please let me make a warm introduction, my good friend Joel. And then he reminds us that a healthy body, healthy temple, it can't be healthy if you're overweight. You've got to lose the weight. You've got to get to yourself down to what I kind of call a fighting weight, to where you can really level yourself up and help other people level up. I mean, he's a 7-category best-selling author that will remind us that, our micro cuts that we do to ourselves, the negative things, no matter how small they are, can spill over and eventually bleed out. And a metaphor of bleeding out is being 100 pounds overweight or even 50 pounds overweight. That is part of bleeding out. You've got to watch what you do on a micro scale, and that includes being present, which my good friend Joel talks about. You want you to ask yourself, what are your values? What is true to you? What do you align with? What do you say to be true out loud? Because that truth, Joel said, is a huge magnetic pull. He wants you to be consistent and committed as you move forward into your truth. Please check out the First Responders, Fathers First Responders group, which will be in the show notes. And remember that leaders don't do what's easy. They do what's right. And he's, my boy Joel is somebody that wants to align with their own vibration of truth, but he wants you to bring you along for the ride. So get in that group if you're a first responder. And if you're not a first responder and you just want to be leveled up in an awesome, fun coaching conversation, which I've had one with Joel, let's get you in touch with Joel. And nothing in your world ever goes wrong. It's how you really relate to it. Everything has a solution. Everything, if you don't know the solution, get your asking gear and ask myself or ask Joel or somebody that you really respect. And that's what Joel does, man. He's earned his second varsity squad letter here at Time to Shine today. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. Absolutely love this dude's guts. And I just love you, man. I can't wait to do some more collaborations with you, my friend.
Absolutely, man. I love you too. And man, thank you.
We'll chat soon.